Coming up on WENY News, we'll tell you about the plans of 3 local firefighters headed to Buffalo to honor a fellow firefighter who died in the line of duty.
And winter weather advisories have been issued. They go into effect at noon tomorrow.
Plus, we're going to tell you about today's race to be the leader of the pack and the effort to support the food bank of the Southern Tier. WENY News at 6 starts right now.
From across the Twin Tiers, this is WENY News at 6.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for WENY News at 6. I'm Renata Steele.
And I'm Nick Quattrini. Starting with weather, it was another dry day with some sunshine and temperatures in the upper 30s.
But WENY Chief Meteorologist Joe Veras is here tracking snow headed our way. Joe, what's the latest?
Yeah, we think we're okay through the overnight period tonight and out the door early tomorrow morning, but it's as we progress through the afternoon tomorrow, that's when the weather starts to go downhill. Winter weather advisories posted from noon tomorrow through 7 a.m. Saturday, and we're thinking there's the potential for between 4 and 6 inches of snow. It's going to be spread out over several hours, again, from about lunchtime through about daybreak Saturday morning, but again, overall about 4 to 6 inches of snow expected. The storm system right now back towards the Chicago area, and it'll be pushing our way by late tomorrow morning into the early afternoon. Between now and then, just some scattered clouds overnight tonight. They'll thicken up a little bit more as we approach daybreak tomorrow morning. Overnight low temperatures tonight heading down into the 20s and eventually mid and upper 30s for tomorrow. So initially that snow may have a hard time accumulating, especially on the pavement. But as the snow picks up tomorrow afternoon, roads will likely become slushy and we'll get even more accumulation on the roads after the sun sets tomorrow evening. Right now, temperatures generally in the 20s, although Watkins Glen down at 29 degrees, sitting at 35 in Elmira. Northeasterly breeze at about 7 miles an hour. And for tomorrow, again, showing increasing chances for snow as we head through the afternoon. I'll let you know if any more snow is in the forecast for the weekend coming up in just a few minutes.
Joe, thank you. Well, following last week's fatal fire in downtown Buffalo, firefighters across New York are showing support to the Buffalo Fire Department.
The fire claimed the life of 37-year-old Jason Arno when part of the building collapsed when he was inside. He will be laid to rest tomorrow. WENY's Sam Shapiro shares how local firefighters are traveling to Buffalo tomorrow to show their support. Sam.
Yeah, Renata and Nick, a handful of firefighters based in the Southern Tier will be traveling up to Buffalo tomorrow to represent their departments in paying final respects to Arno. And they tell me when the opportunity to be there presented itself, it wasn't even a question.
This is something that happened very close to us, and we wanted to be there to show support for firefighter Arno, the Buffalo Fire Department, and his family.
The Ithaca Fire Department is sending 3 fire officers and 2 recruits from the New York State Academy of Fire Science to Buffalo Friday to pay their respects to fallen firefighter Jason Arno of the Buffalo Fire Department, who lost his life while fighting a fire on March 1st. Lieutenant Nick Raponi says the fire service as a whole is a tight-knit community, and he and others from his department felt the need to show support.
We do the same job, just in different locations. So when something tragic like this happens, it's something that hits home, close to home to us. And unfortunately, in this case, it happened 3 hours from us. So being able to show support from such a short distance away is something that was very important to us.
Raponi explained how this situation is an example of how dangerous the work they do is and the extreme risk that comes with it. He said what happened to Arno could happen to him or any of his fellow firefighters while doing their jobs, and that's something they take seriously.
It takes a certain person to want to do this job to begin with. Unfortunately, we pay the ultimate sacrifice sometimes for doing the hard work day in and day out.
And Lieutenant Raponi encourages everyone to support their local firefighters and to thank them for the hard work they do. And if you would like to support firefighter Arno's family, we'll have a link to where you can do so posted on our website at WENY.com. Renata?
Sam, thank you. Well, this afternoon, the Food Bank of the Southern Tier celebrated their commitment to the community with a special event today. Employees from Corning Incorporated fought the clock to help feed children at risk for hunger.
Leader of the Pack began in 2019 and it switched to be semi-virtual during the pandemic. And now that they're back in person, WENY's Max Coven reports.
The Food Bank of the Southern Tier hosted 10 teams as they raced to pack as many food bags as possible. The challenge, the teams have 1 hour to do so. Ready, set, let's pack.
The Corning Foundation is so excited to partner with the Food Bank of the Southern Tier to do Corning Leader of the Pack. We have 100 Corning employees divided into 10 different teams, and they are all competing on a number of different ways.
The ways they are competing includes 1, packing the food bags, 2, by fundraising, and 3, to get community engagement, which was a success with more than $90,000 raised.
Kids who have been identified as being at risk of experiencing hunger in the home at school get a bag of kid-friendly, easy-to-prepare food items in a bag, slipped into their backpack discreetly every Friday.
A challenge presented as kids who are in school do receive breakfast and lunch. While these two key meals are important, over the weekend and during long breaks, they may or may not have reliable access to food. The backpack program fills that gap.
Last year, the food bank distributed over 80,000 individual packs across the Southern Tier region, and every single one of those packs was packed by a volunteer. So we could not do this program without the support of our community and the incredible volunteers that make it happen.
With spring break coming up and summer break not trailing far behind it, the next concern is how to keep kids fed over summer 2023 break.
The other way is by supporting the summer food program, which happens during the summer when school is not in session. That is another way to get critical, healthy food to kids that might be in need.
Each team worked diligently to beat the clock today. All the bags packed will be distributed to school kids who are at risk for hunger during the weekends and long breaks. Reporting from the Food Bank of the Southern Tier, Max Coven, WENY News.
The New York State Department of Environmental Conservation is reminding people of the state's annual burn ban, which will go into effect next week. That burn ban runs from March 16th through May 14th, and it's a time of year when it's often windy and the ground is often dry and can easily catch fire. The DEC says during that time, bonfires, open fires, trash burning, or debris are not allowed to be burned due to the risk of starting a brush fire or a field fire. However, there are exemptions. You can have small cooking fires, small bonfires, and campfires. The DEC says small fires are allowed as long as it's done responsibly.
You can do small campfires. You can do those backyard fire pits, more than 4 feet wide, 3 feet high. You can do cooking outside, but you can't bring your debris outside and start burning it. And please abide by that. You're going to keep yourself safe. You'll keep your neighbors safe. You'll keep your community safe, and you keep our first responders on their important jobs.
People who violate the burn ban face a minimum fine of $500.
A Pennsylvania state senator is pushing for open primaries in Pennsylvania. Erie's State Senator Dan Laughlin took part in the D.C.-based Bipartisan Policy Center's discussion on Primaries Day. The BPC says primary elections are viewed with a mix of concerns and optimism. While the primaries are often among the most consequential contests in our politics, voters are largely uninterested. Senator Laughlin and other lawmakers and election experts talked about primary turnout and reform in the discussion today. But before he took part in that event, he spoke about getting open primaries for the Keystone State.
And I think, quite frankly, when we talk about all the election issues that we've had in Pennsylvania over these last few years and all the unrest, I think bringing these independent voters in and allowing them to vote in the primary is a little bit of good governance that I think this state could use right now.
As of now, Pennsylvania is one of just a handful of states that do not allow independent voters to participate in the primaries. According to stats from the state, Erie County alone has under 25,000 voters who are listed as no political affiliation or with an affiliation other than the two main parties.
Education stakeholders are reacting to Governor Josh Shapiro's first budget proposal in Pennsylvania. Just ahead, WENY State Capitol correspondent Brendan Scanlon joins us live to share why some advocates say it doesn't go far enough.
And President Biden unveiled his budget proposal today. We're going to tell you what his proposal calls for over the next 10 years and how Republicans are responding.
And snow will push into the Twin Tiers by early tomorrow afternoon. We'll talk potential accumulations and what may follow going into early next week. Coming up right after the break. But first, a live look at our Crystal City Skycam overlooking Market Street in downtown Corning. You're watching WENY News at 6.